Welcome back to the Super Hornet Podcast. I'm Evan, aka the Super Hornet, and I got a guest today for the first time on the Super Hornet Podcast. It's Lee the Hornet. You find him on TikTok, Lee the Hornet. Makes great content over there. Season ticket holder. Shout out your section.
Section 207. Yeah.
Makes great content after every game, and found him on there, and now we're buddies, and had him on the show. So we got a lot to talk about. It's been I think like 2 weeks since I posted. I was sick last week. So I didn't really want to record. It sounded all gross. But yeah, no, just it's been a lot going on. Lamelo has since been injured since I recorded last, which
Gosh.
is no fun. T. John has also been injured. I think I recorded the last episode like the day after Grant tore his ACL. So that's happened, but we've had a lot happen since then, unfortunately. But we have some positives too. Mark Williams has come back. Nick Richards has come back. Both look good, even though Mark Williams is, on a minutes restriction. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And, Brandon Miller's really transcended, and we got some new guys on the roster who, either been out with injuries or new signings who've been looking good. So we're going to talk about that. I think I'm going to start with Mark Williams coming back because that's kind of been the topic all season. Mark hadn't played. I think it was 382 days was like the gap somewhere around those lines. And we got him back, and he's been on a minute restriction. And the first game he came back, he looked kind of rough. But I would say, I think Lee, you agree with me on this. We talked about it at the game. We went to the game against the Cavs together. He he definitely still looks like himself. He just got to get his wind back. I would say he had I
Sure.
think 3 dunks in the first quarter in that Cavs game. Looked really solid. I mean, you know, especially against two dominant big men. I mean, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are both good on the defensive end, so to get a lot of good looks, get some rebounds and everything, it looked really good. You got any comments on Mark Williams, Lee?
Yeah. I remember I was there at the 76ers game when he returned, and those minute restrictions are really one of the things that is highlighted when you say minute restrictions. We should put out there that means about 10 minutes a game.
Yeah,
And,
all in the
that
first
first
half.
game, yeah, when he came against the game against the 76ers, I was even in a conversation with someone who walked up and was discussing the return of Mark Williams, and we were even joking that it's like, yeah, but they have him in an insane amount of bubble wrap. And it's obvious to me that they have him in an insane amount of bubble wrap when you're coming off of the largest injury that you have remained a starter on a team, remained on that team for the entirety of your injury. He was making history in terms of his numbers. It was like, what, 1,039 days or something like that was Lonzo Ball's, but he had switched up
Hmm.
teams. And
Yeah.
so Mark Williams, really, 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 really important piece for the Hornets, and a really, really important piece that I think we're just treating with a lot of bubble wrap right now. He was doing basic cardio. I don't even know if he put up any points that return game. But then, yeah, I'd go back and just say that Mark Williams, when he's feeling it and when he has a solid point guard, can definitely do exactly what Mark Williams, the 7-footer, is done. And I would love, 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 love to see how long it's going to take to get a 35-minute Mark Williams game, and then also what that would even look like. So I think I'm going to continue to hold my grounds because Nick Richards is moving and moving right now. And I think, Nick Richards can play basketball. And right now, I think I want to see LaMelo and Nick Richards and LaMelo and Mark Williams. And I'm happy you got a smile on my face with either.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I feel the exact same way. Nick Richards has played better than he has in his entire career. Even he was doing that before he got hurt against the Celtics, and since coming back, he's looked great. I think watching on the sideline maybe gave him some perspective. A little Bryce Young for the Panthers, if you will. He's definitely eased up on the goaltends. I feel like he had to have led the league in goaltends. I've never seen anybody goaltend a ball more in my life. But now he's contesting without goaltending, and he looks great. I mean, Mark Williams, you feel the impact immediately. You see guys hesitating going into the hole. I mean, I love Moussa Diabate. We both do. Moussa Diabate.
Yeah.
I bought his jersey. I love Moussa Diabate, but he's maybe 6'9", maybe 6'10".
Yeah.
You don't have that 7'1" with like a 7'5" wingspan. In the paint. Like you just feel that. You just feel it, and
Yeah.
I think
And
the minutes restriction, a big thing with the minute restriction, is that he's going to be. I think they're being more careful, especially when he was out for that back to back. And
yeah,
I think they're gonna ease up until Melo comes back. I
yeah,
think that they're gonna let the team roll. I mean, honestly, the guys that we have who are filling in minutes for these injured guys have been doing great. I really want to highlight some of them guys. I mean, Micic is himself again.
yeah,
He's
somewhere. I think
he
it's Micic needed the respect. Micic needed the minutes.
that's what he said
Um,
in the interview. He's like, uh, Shannon asked him where this had been, and he said, like where did this come from? And he said, I got the minutes now, like or something
yeah,
along those lines.
yeah,
Micic's aura is back.
yeah,
He's hitting some at least his open jump shots. He's driving to the hole and actually making his layups, setting guys up. Him and Nick Richards looked like Shaq and Kobe for like a
yeah,
quarter there.
yeah.
Against the Pacers. Um, but it's definitely I don't know what we're gonna talk about some trades this podcast, but and I know Meach is like the head of those trade talks, but
Sure. I think
I'm
we need backup point guard depth. Trey Mann has not played enough games for me to be comfortable dealing Micic, especially if Micic is going to continue to give us 18, 20-point games.
oh yeah
That being said, I think a lot of what we need is health. And, coming out of an 8-game losing streak, sure, we won the last game that we played against the Pacers. And like you said, Nick Richards and Micic were an integral part of that, which I think proved their depth. That being said, they were an integral part of the losses of those previous 8. And so I think that for now, I would be interested in hearing what trade talks we have for Micic, but health is so important. I don't see us doing trades. I mean, even in 20, I don't see us doing trades even in early 2025. I think it would have to be like, in the offseason at this stage. I think we have such a potential to win these next couple of games, and I'd love to go into that in terms of who do you think is? I mean, obviously trades. I pick up the phone every single time, but right now in terms of health, I mean, just against the Cavs, literally just against the Cavs, we had 7 injuries.
yeah
Um, who do you think is going to be the most important player to come back? If you could choose one player right now to come back for the Hornets, Miles Bridges, for me, I'd say Miles Bridges come back, because he was an integral part of this core. He has the aura. He has there's no fixing there. He knows these guys. He knows how to play basketball with these guys. And Miles Bridges being fully back, being fully healthy, would really put us in a good spot. Obviously, LaMelo Ball, but I think for the sake of this
yeah
conversation, that's the most
that's
obvious
Lamelo.
thing here. We throw that out the window. But I mean, yeah, where are you at with it? Would you prefer maybe a Grant Williams miracle heal? Would you prefer Mark Williams being fully back? Where are you with the healing process of the players that are starters, I guess, that are in?
No, I would definitely say Miles Bridges as well. The answer would have been Trey Mann 4 games ago.
Yeah, yeah,
But Daquan Jeffries and Isaiah Wong, who I want to talk about in a little bit,
yeah,
they've looked so great as these backup like spark plug guards. We were really lacking the ball handling. It was just kind of Micic and then KJ Simpson a little bit, and I feel like Nick Smith Jr. Like I expected him to get more playing time. He was highlighted a lot in the off season stuff with especially with Charles Lee, and he is really like just I'm a huge Nick Smith Jr. fan. He's disappointed with how he's looked, but I mean, it would have been Trey Man 4 games ago, but now I don't call it fluky because like not a beginner's luck, but defenses aren't expecting it with Isaiah Wong and with Daquan Jeffries. But we have some hoopers, guards off the bench. So yeah, I would have to say, especially losing Tijon for a while, Miles Bridges a little extra scoring punch. He can handle the ball, but I was definitely enjoying Miles being an off-ball kind of guy. Catch and shoot, catch and jab and drive. But yeah, no, definitely Miles Bridges.
yeah,
I think he's really good for the roster. Definitely. And then I would say it's Miles, and then I would just make Mark Williams fully healthy
yeah.
if I could get a second one. But
And I think honestly, if you look at those two people right there, that I mean that doesn't seem unrealistic. I don't want to give too much hope to the Hornets who breathe and live hope, I guess. But I do think that me with my eyes, and I don't know if you were there on that game, but I've seen Miles Bridges I've seen Miles Bridges in training. I've seen Miles Bridges getting defended. I've seen Miles Bridges drive the basket in the training center in the last 72 hours with my eyeballs. And that kind of stuff matters. It matters because Miles Bridges is A, wanting to play basketball, and B, capable of playing basketball at least a 60-70% capable level. Right now he could mess up the YMCA. And I think that a lot of the things going back to Micic's aura comes back to, hey, that's basketball. And we have such a young team. We're the third youngest team in the league. Before we had Taj Gibson, we were the youngest team in the league. And I think that, we have to really gift wrap that because, hey, we can be good in 5 years. We totally can. And 5 years of development can go a long way for a lot of these guys, but not if they're injured, not if they're playing insane minutes. But at the same time, when you're trying to get people like Brandon Miller, people like LaMelo Ball, that postseason experience, you might have to tell a Miles Bridges, who's on a pretty good contract for points contributed, that what, actually you are going to go out there at 80%, and if you get back down to that 60%, we'll pull you back in the training center. But in terms of Miles Bridges being considered and looked at December 19th, I can't imagine that they would be looking at him and saying, man, you're going to need a lot longer to heal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel the same way about Melo too. I think Melo, with the game we were at against the Cavs, he was out there warming up. I mean, he's running off the court.
Yeah.
He was getting moving around good. Seemed in good spirits too. He was laughing. You see him in these. I mean, even like early in the injury, like I would say like 2 3 days after they ruled him out with the calf strain, you saw the video of the out of like practice where him and Brandon Miller were shooting around and going shot for shot. Like I think that they're just being extra careful with both of them. I mean, with Miles and with Melo, the a major muscle strain and a bone bruise. If you don't let them heal properly, they can result in injuries coming back a little bit easier. And I think that if one was healthy, like especially if Melo was healthy right now, I think Miles would be back or soon to be back. Um, but I think now with them both being out, they're just the training staff is being more transparent and being more apt to let guys take their time, especially with everybody out. I mean, at least when we had 7 guys out, I don't think bringing one of the dudes back was going to make that big of a
Right.
difference.
Right.
But I mean, Trey Man's the only one that I don't know anything about. I mean, he hasn't been at the games. He was in the training center when we went to the Cavs game. We
Mhm.
peeked in and saw him warming up, just like shooting free throws. I saw no movement, but I mean, him and Grant are the only ones who've been hurt and not gone to the games, which is concerning. But yeah, no, I just
Yeah, I mean, I'd say right now, as a media stalker, if you look at all the Hornets media, shout out TikTok. Trey Mann has his braids undone again, which I don't know if that means anything. I just know that Trey Mann's hair is a consistent point of topic, and I would say that it means that Trey Mann is not coming to games, that Trey Mann has his hair undone, but that Trey Mann is at the gym. Trey Mann will hop in the room with the social media manager. Trey Mann is able to stand and smile.
yeah.
I would say that right now, when we're looking at a reevaluation period, and when you're also looking at a disc in your back, I mean, that stuff is something that especially for the way that Tricky Trey plays basketball. Yeah, don't mess with it, please.
Yeah, be careful.
I don't know if that means that we need to tank, or if that means we need to not care about the win as much. But I'd be interested in hearing where you think the players come from. The culture. PJ Washington, as he went to the Mavs, was recorded, literally recorded on video, saying that the Hornets had a losing culture. And then when Terry Rozier was asked if that was true, he was like, yeah, it's totally true. The culture of losing basketball games does not mean we don't want to win basketball games, but it means we are complacent, we are okay losing basketball games for the name of some greater good somewhere down the road. And listen, I love Tijon Salon as much as the last guy, but there was no reason that we needed to tank or not try to win every single basketball game we had last year. And I feel and fear that, hey, I understand the depth of this next draft class is immense, but it does not mean that we should be losing basketball games. Or do you genuinely think that no, Tijon Salon just is the victim of one of the weakest draft classes? I think you have the more in-depth basketball backlog for that.
It's where I love Tijon. I'm gonna start with saying I love Tijon. I love his energy. I think he's going to be something in this league. But we almost should have been better as a team. We were in a no man's land in this draft because I feel like the top 3 4 guys. I mean, Reed Shepard hasn't been able to see his what he's been able to do in Houston just because they have so many young guys that he's just not getting the time of day. But he was very highly rated in the draft. But I mean, like 5 6, it was Ron Holland and Tijon, and then it went Klingon, and we had all these other guys. You see like Jared McCain went at 14 or 15, and Dalton Connect, he was the guy who was rumored to the Hornets. But they didn't draft him because it was like a little bit of a reach. He was a little bit older for his at there. If we had somehow had the 11th pick, the 10th pick, we might have taken a flyer on a Jared McCain or
Yeah, yeah.
on a Dalton Connect.
And I would have said at this draft though, and I think any front office staff at the beginning of this draft would have said, "Holy crap, we do not need more showy point guard depth." And obviously now it looks back, and I've considered and beat up myself, going, "Why didn't we take Jared McCain?" You know what I mean? Zach Edey, what's going on there? And so much of it comes down to how good our team could be when healthy.
Oh
And
yeah.
and it goes back to our team isn't always healthy consistently. When we've got new training staff, we've got new ownership, we've got people who have looked into it and gone, there are so many problems. Here's where you solve all the problems, and we fired everybody and we brought in new people, and the exact same thing happened. It happened even quicker than it did last year. So clearly, there's less control over this than we thought we had. A major element of control that we have is say, okay, let's stop being the youngest team in the NBA. Let's go get 26, 28-year-olds who have played 82 ball games a year. And we can kind of look at it and say, listen, we need depth that you can put up 15 points a game. I don't care if you're putting up 22 points a game because you're playing all 82. And you're playing 82 games and you're playing them 40, 45 minutes a game. And what is your idea on the trades? Are you trading because of injury, or are you trading because you genuinely think that these pieces could be more valuable to a different team for something that they have? I know you wanted to discuss trades, so I'd like to hear what you have to say about it.
I think that this team, if they're making trades, they're making trades to get younger or for draft capital. That's kind of been what
Mm,
Jeff Peters' MO here. A lot of, I mean, we took on, what is it, Reggie Jackson for the 8th time, it feels like, to buy him out
mm,
this offseason. We've been the facilitator for trades, and you have, I think, what's most likely to happen this year if we don't, is we either trade Micic to or we trade Micic to a contender. It looks like Jokic kind of wants him on his roster from like what
yep,
all the reports have been. So there's that. There's also been the Alonzo Ball rumors,
yep,
which Alonzo makes $23 million a year, I think. And you would say, how do you get that contract in? With Grant Williams' $6.7 million exception, it's used to sign a player, or it can be used to trade for an expiring contract, which Lonzo Ball is.
yep,
And so that's another option. You have Jimmy Butler just said requested a trade essentially. The Heat are saying that they're taking phone calls on him,
yeah.
and we could definitely be a team that helps facilitate a trade like that, like we did for the Klay Thompson
Yeah,
trade.
I was gonna say, you think Jimmy Butler would ever come to the
Jimmy
Hornets?
Butler said he wanted to go to a I almost said competent team. No, to the team competing for a championship.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to make one comment real fast, being competent team about the losing mentality for the Hornets. I think a big part of that was, I love Steve Clifford, but Steve Clifford took the job as a favor to Michael Jordan when he came back.
Yeah,
Because Kenny Atkinson pulled out and didn't want to be coach anymore, and I think that was part of it. I think that you know, he didn't really want to be coaching anymore, but he was doing it as a favor. So there wasn't that passion there. And Michael Jordan owned the team kind of as a almost like a vanity piece.
yeah,
Like, look at me, I own an NBA team in my home state, uh, and he didn't really care about winning.
yep.
And he actively hurt the teams
Agreed.
in doing so. I mean, you heard when Steve Clifford was more passionate about the team, about wanting to draft Donovan Mitchell, wanting to draft Devin Booker, like wanted to take these guys when we took other guys who Michael Jordan liked a little bit more. Um, and Mitch Kupchak just did what Michael Jordan told him to do. And you know, I think that feeds into that culture. And I think that you see, with Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall, being new kind of hungry owners who want to prove something, but that also don't want to rush into it. You're not getting a Sun situation where their owner bought the team and then immediately traded for Kevin Durant, traded all their assets, traded for Bradley Beal, and now we're like, maybe we shouldn't have made all those moves. And you see that
Mm-hmm.
there. I honestly enjoy our situation as a team more than the Suns, even though we're not trying to win. They're not doing that much better than we are, and we have all of our picks and then some. But you had the ownership come in last year at the deadline. Mitch Kupchak was still the GM, but from what it sounded like, the owners knew what guys they wanted to trade, and they knew what they wanted to get back for him. Mitch Kupchak even said that the owners knew a lot more about basketball than he expected them to, about players
Yeah.
and everything. So you have guys who know what they want, know about the teams and what guys owning the team. You hire this up and coming young general manager, like assistant general manager, to be your general manager, who has respect across the entire league, and Jeff Peterson. And you get Charles Lee, a guy who's been in head coaching talks for a minute now, been the lead assistant on two championship teams in the last 3 years. And just these guys, they want to compete. You see Charles Lee on the sideline. I swear he's playing defense when he's coaching. He's getting down low, calling stuff out, pointing stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's, it's so much fun to watch.
If he could interrupt a ball inbounding, I bet he would.
He would jump, on.
Yeah. Yep.
But and our two lead assistants and Josh Longstaff and Lamar Skeeter. They've been guys who've been talked about for head coaching jobs. They've been lead assistants, and they were in Utah and in Chicago. We assembled this like a lead assistant, like Avengers squad of
Yep.
guys who know what they're doing, and I think that you feel the culture shift. We got guys like Grant Williams, a guy who's been on competing teams, who's from the Charlotte area. Also Seth Curry, these guys who want to see their hometown team win. They both were fans of the team growing up,
Yeah.
and they also both have been, especially Grant Williams, like vocal leaders on and off the court.
Yeah.
Um, which the Grant Williams injury sucks. I really hate it. He just had surgery a couple days ago now. So they said the day of the Cavs game. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Um, but hopefully with the injury, he can still come to the games and add add the vocal leadership that he can still have on the bench when he comes back. But like you can't tell me that you watch the games and think that it's a losing culture anymore. We may not
Yeah.
be winning our games, but man, we have 4, 5, 6, 7 guys out,
Yeah.
and we're still in these games. We've
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been painfully close as an example. You know what I mean? Like it's just been what is it? It's been aside from that Cavs loss and especially that Knicks loss. It's what a 6 point, 3 point, 1 point, 4 point, um, 5 point, 6 point, 2 point. These losses are incredibly close. And even if you look at the game flow charts, they continue to clash. It's different colors.
oh yeah, no, we're in these weren't against bad teams either. I mean,
No, agreed.
like
Yeah.
I would say like the Knicks game we ended up losing pretty bad. That was like one of our worst games, and so it was close. We lost like 3 points, to the Hawks, who they're not the best team, but they were on a hot streak. A 1 point loss to the Knicks, fully healthy. We were in that game. 4 points to the Heat. We lost. It was 11 to the Magic. The Magic, Franz Wagner was on a tear there. You know,
Yeah.
close game with the Bucks.
Rest
Overtime
in
win with the
peace, Franz
Pistons.
Wagner.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No, isn't it where they both got oblique injuries? I guess this the same injury for him and Paolo is kind of weird.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't, and I mean, just
yeah,
really upsetting for Magic fans. Continue.
yeah, yeah. I'm bummed. I really like the Magic organization. They're doing what the Hornets are trying to do, and with being young and competitive. But yeah, no, like we're competing with these guys who back to the bench guys for other teams are G League guys. I mean Isaiah Wong is coming in here and playing real minutes and looking
Yeah,
good while he's doing it. Playing
yeah,
good defense. I mean,
yeah,
if you told me that the future backcourt for the Hornets is going to be Isaiah Wong and Trey Mann, like for like the like the bench,
yeah,
that's awesome to me. That's awesome to
yeah,
me. You
yeah,
know, you play good defense. Daquan Jeffries, But put up a career high the other night. Against the Cavs.
Let's go,
Hit me.
Daquan Jeffries. And that exact game, I remember we sat together at that game, and it was a disrespect from Daquan Jeffries as we were sitting down. We were even joking, because it was Daquan Jeffries' first real game that we kind of figured minutes are coming from Daquan Jeffries.
Yeah.
And 9 points over 11 minutes is not insane, but I mean, career high from that. Am I correct on that stat line? I was trying to find it earlier,
Oh,
but I
he,
know it
he put
wasn't
up he put up
insane.
18. 18 was his career high.
18 points over how many minutes?
Oh, I don't know actually, but I'll pull it up right now. This
Do it
is
up, yeah.
the beauty of
I was
smartphones.
gonna say it's not like an all-star level career high, but a lot of that is because I mean you haven't necessarily had significant minutes in NBA games, and I think that a lot of it is just Daquan Jeffries is hungry right now, but does he remain hungry? And also right now, super respectfully to Daquan Jeffries, who once again going back could mess up a YMCA whenever he wants, is someone who I don't think any NBA coach, no matter how low down the rung, is preparing any NBA player for, no matter how low down the rung. And so you just have that vanity of surprise. It's the same reason that a really strong guy who's not traditionally, trained in fighting could beat up Floyd Mayweather, but just because Floyd Mayweather has no idea how this punch can get defended against. And that guy doesn't know how he's throwing a punch. It's not that Floyd Mayweather isn't going to get a good punch. It's not that he's better at it, but that element of surprise, especially when you are smart and you understand what you're doing, like Daquan Jeffries, works for 5 games. It works for 6 games, and we saw that happen. Where, hey, we're getting close in these games, and then we had these blowouts. And as we got these blowouts, we said, okay, Isaiah Wong, Daquan Jeffries, go in there. Please help us out with minutes. How much do you think of this as a mirage versus someone like Isaiah Wong? That guy has been playing professional basketball this entire time. That guy has been running the court on professional basketball teams for a long time. And we should not disrespect the 26 points he averaged per game. I mean, that's a big deal. And G League or not, that's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I found the stat. It was 17 points in 25 minutes for Daquan Jeffries.
17 points, 25 minutes.
So Isaiah Wong's only 23 years old too.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a young guy. That's he could be a piece for the future if things pan out. Worst comes to worst, he could be a two-way guy who you always have there as depth. But I mean, I really liked what he's done. You've had these guys. We talked about trades before. Like Daquan Jeffries has been like a rumored throw-in for a trade. But
Yeah.
if he's putting up good stats, he could be a guy who's maybe like, oh, we got this guy who could, if he needs some
I
extra
I
guard
haven't seen that
depth.
from Nick Smith Jr.
Yeah, Nick Smith
Yeah.
Jr. is also a guy I could see in trades, which hurts me. But I just feel like his future on this team just is so uncertain. I felt like
Yeah.
it's I would. I mean, KJ Simpson showed me more in the 9 games he's played than I think I've seen from Nick Smith Jr. Even though he averaged, I think like the most like the best 3-point percentage for a rookie ever, who to average like a certain amount of shots or put up a certain amount of shots in a season. I just the other stuff, and I don't know, but no, I think. But to go back to what we were talking about to start this all, I think that a lot of the reason we're doing so well with this, even with the guys we have in, is Charles Lee's coaching. I think they don't give up. They're in it. They think they can win every game. I mean, somebody on Twitter was saying like they showed an interview with like him, asking about all the injuries and everything. Going into it was going into the Pacers game, and someone's like, this is a loser's mentality. You have to like talk
Mm-hmm.
about your injuries more. And I'm like, it'd be a loser's mentality if he, whined on the microphone and said,
Yeah.
oh, woe is me, we're hurt. We're just putting out whoever. But he said he's excited to see these guys compete, the guys on the
Yeah.
roster. And you know what? They went out and they won that game.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, that's the mindset. We want to
Yeah.
win these games. But I love this is the best roster, like most cohesive and best roster,
Yeah.
we that we've had, as a whole unit in a while. I know that you see Gordon Hayward and PJ Washington, Terry Rozier. These guys may have a little bit higher of a ceiling than some of the guys in our current roster, but Brendan Miller's look so good, and we have a real bench. We have a real bench when we're healthy.
Agreed.
But you had Mitch Kupchak and Steve Clifford last year saying this is a playoff team, and now this year you have they're not saying that there's no outlandish promises of like
Yeah.
postseason success. You know the quote with been talked about a decent amount is we're in the second inning of a 9 inning ball game here.
Yeah.
But not that these guys don't want to win. It's just this is the reason why a 80% or 75% Miles hasn't come back, or they're slow to bring some of these guys who are hurt back. Is we're not going to win this year. There's no point in causing
Trying.
not trying, but not rushing guys back who are coming off injuries that can nag you for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's the reason.
Knee, back, none of that is good.
Yeah, especially with the back, Mark Williams tried to ramp up like 5 or 6 times last year. But those
Yeah.
things, if you start too early, you re-injure yourself and you're gonna put yourself
Yeah.
back further. I would rather give Melo 2 or 3 extra games out and know that he's gonna be good for a while than I mean, Miles came back early. It's a different knee, so I guess that's what I meant. But Miles came
Yeah.
back like early from his last knee injury just to have a different one. 'Cause I think they said it was a different knee, but either way, it's it's I like the mindset of this organization right now, and we're gonna try to win, but we're not gonna you know risk our guys' health. We're not going to make unnecessary moves because I think Charlotte is a team. We're not like people. We're not a small market, but we're not a big market either. We're not we're kind of like a middle of the pack market.
Mid-sized market. Yeah.
Yeah, like a Milwaukee kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But like Charlotte, I will say you see a lot of professional athletes who like play in Charlotte. Like Gordon Hayward lives in Charlotte again. Like he
Yeah.
moved back to Charlotte after he retired, and we have guys like Randy Moss and Allen Iverson living in Charlotte, and they never even played here. So Charlotte is a city that people like to live in, at least from an outsider's perspective with athletes. But we're not going to get these free agents coming in to Charlotte
Yeah.
without us at least winning. But we've acquired all these a decent amount of picks. We have all of our own picks. That next disgruntled star, in like a year or two, if we're healthy and we're patient, Miles Bridges is on a very tradable contract with a declining salary. We have other guys on the roster. We're probably gonna. I mean, people have talked about before he got injured, Trey Mann, like being a guy who's moved at the deadline for like
Yeah.
to a contender for picks. You know, I'm not saying I love that idea, but this is a team that is poised to have a decent amount of assets and tradable contracts in the near future, and with a good young core. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think it could be exciting. It's I hate that we've lost our games, but I love that the games we have lost have been really close losses to good teams, or at least
Yeah.
upper middle pack teams, and then like everyone we've lost to for the most part have been in, except for like the uh the Sixers have been at least in the play-in in either of their conferences.
Yeah.
But we're still only 4 games back from the play. Not even 4 games. We're 3 games back from the play-in.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah.
all that said,
Speaking of,
the East
I mean,
sucks.
yeah, Bulls game coming up. And right now ESPN has 82% chance that the Chicago Bulls will take that one home. But I don't know how fair that is. That being said, it looks like Mark Williams could be good for that game. Tijon Salon could be back for that game. Musa Diabate, who's been out with illness, I would be surprised to not see back in that game. The Chicago Bulls, especially in that arena, the United Center, they're a franchise that shows up. I mean, it's definitely a home court advantage for the Bulls because they're going to be an away game for the Hornets. And no LaMelo Ball. What are you really going to do? That being said, I mean, it's an any NBA kind of night. And 17% chance does feel wrong. That feels inaccurate in my
Yeah,
mind. But I'd be willing to hear what you think is next for the Hornets here on this game against the Bulls.
I think the Bulls game is a winnable game. It depends on who comes back. Obviously, I will say the Bulls have looked pretty good this year. I mean, Vucevic has looked well, like played well. Like he's averaging good efficiency, like 20 something points a game. Zach LaVine, he's has his most efficient year ever. I saw on Twitter earlier
Yeah,
because they were talking about it's the most efficient year ever and like
yeah,
one of the best scoring years ever. But the people still don't want to trade for him because of the contract.
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to trade for him with the
He's got an
contract.
80% free throw percentage and
Yeah,
50% field goal percentage
it's
on
crazy.
22 points average per game.
And he's taking a lot of threes too in
Yeah.
those. So I mean, that shooting 50% is great. He's the Bulls are a team that it depends on the night. Modest Buzelis, he's looked decent as a rookie. He definitely had some high flying dunks. I'd like to see him play. I would have loved to see Lamelo come back, play against Lonzo.
It's possible Miles will be back. It's possible Miles will be back. It's possible Miles will be back. I'll leave it at that. I will be in Chicago for the Bulls game.
Heck yeah,
If you want to check out my page, I don't know if I'll be reporting on it, quote unquote, but you'll see a post about it on Lee the Hornet.
heck yeah,
And I am excited for, I guess, the 76ers, which also feels like a winnable game. But yeah, if not, then we have lost, what, 3 of the 4 to that series?
yeah.
The season
Already,
series to the 76ers?
with Embiid playing in one of them, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
That would not be good. I'm gonna try.
What's up, Jared
Yeah,
McCain? Please be easy on us.
The one thing that was good though is that first game that we lost to them, the overtime game, he went crazy, and it was like I feel like it's a bit of a ongoing joke, at least with me with the Hornets, is some random role players shouldn't be beating us. Always has like a crazy game, your Dante DiVincenzo's go for
Yeah.
28 or whatever.
TJ McConnell?
TJ McConnell, oh, he's gonna have a great game when he comes to Charlotte next time, right? He had 30 in the last game, like like it's crazy.
Career high.
Yeah, uh, I mean, he's not a role player. Evan Mobley put up his career high in Charlotte at the game we were at, um, but Jared McCain went on a run after that. It wasn't just us he beat up on; it was everybody.
Yep.
So that's a little validating.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm gonna throw you like 2 or 3 names of guys who are in trade talks and see what you think about these. Coming into the Hornets. The first one is Lonzo Ball has been heavily talked about on a big contract, but it would make LaMelo happy. LeVar was, talking about helps on the way. Big baller brand. They were being like secret about it, and then nothing happened after that. Do you think that? Do you think like a package of like a Micic and Daquan Jeffries with that exception, if that was what we sent out, maybe a second or two for Alonzo, would you be happy with that trade?
I would be happy with that trade as a Hornets fan. I would be unhappy with that trade as a person who wants to win ball games, as a person who wants to see healthy players. Super
That's fair.
respectfully to Lonzo, don't bring him over here for any serious thing. If we're going to bring him over here and we're going to do it December 29th, and we're going to do it because we want Chino Hills to be in Charlotte because, holy crap, this LaMelo Ball injury is probably going to be really bad. And also, it looks like Miles Bridges and Trey Mann aren't coming back until February. Let's trade for that because we can't be. I mean, they've been the lowest grossing NBA team in terms of ticket sales for the last 4 years, and they are not on pace to be the lowest in terms of ticket sales this year. We're slotted to be in the bottom 10, but we are definitely slotted to make a jump. People are coming to Hornets games again. People are giving the Hornets a chance again, and people need to understand that the Hornets are entertaining. The ownership knows that. The GMs know that. And I'm sure the coaches and the players will work with whatever they're given. But I do not need any more glass players on our team. And as much as I respect Lonzo Ball, once again, could mess up a YMCA whenever he wanted, probably even when he was injured. I don't know if he can mess up an NBA court, for even 30 games, a year. And until I know that, I'm not gonna be happy with the Lonzo Ball trade in terms of winning or playoff experience. I think it's a bad trade for anyone. I think getting Lonzo Ball for anyone is a bad trade.
Yeah, no, I wasn't definitely a similar boat to you with the worry about the injuries. I will say seeing guys like Isaiah Wong play well, and maybe with if Trey Man's going to come back, you know, anytime relatively soon, like maybe by the new year, then I would maybe be okay with it because you have other guard depth at this point.
Yeah,
I think it would be good morale for the team. I think,
agreed.
um, you know, you want to keep Lamelo happy, and I think that really would be a boost. I think it would be fun to watch, and Lonzo, he had like a little like wrist thing when he came back. I mean, I think he fell and like landed on his wrist, like was out with like a wrist sprain for like 2 or 3 games, but he's back healthy again. I think they're not the doctors aren't concerned about his knee as much, but it's a 1 year deal too. It's an expiring deal, so if he gets banged up and he isn't hurt, and he's hurt for a lot of the time, then maybe who really knows. Um, but I think it could be good. It could be fun. It could be good. Another guy who just the Pelicans started talking about trade rumors. They talked about making some trades with everyone being hurt for them. Is Herb Jones? Herb Jones is I feel like he runs from 2 to 4. Super great defender. Can knock out some shots. You know, I think I don't know what the asking price is going to be. Is the only concern, but I mean there's also been rumors that Cody Martin is in trade. Like we're taking offers for him. The contract's just about line up. You have to throw in like a Daquan Jeffries in that trade to match the contracts. But what about like a Herb Jones for Cody Martin, a Daquan Jeffries, and like one of the first that we got? I don't know how if that would be enough. Maybe
Yeah,
some seconds as well. I just don't know what the asking price would be. Like I don't know. Like if they're saying 2 first-round picks, I don't
yeah,
want to make that trade. But if we're trading like a top 4 protected Dallas pick that we got from the PJ trade, I think I would listen to that. Like I would be happy if I
sure,
saw
yeah.
that was a trade we
I
made.
think Herb Jones is great. I think he could be good in purple and teal. I think you got to look at what the Pelicans want, and I doubt that the Pelicans want a lot of trades right now. I mean, a lot of picks right now. I think they're going to want healthy bodies on the floor that can contribute. And I could be wrong. I'm not the front office. They could say, "Hey, listen, this draft class is worth completely obliterating all of the actual winning mentality that we have." The season is not halfway through, and especially coming from a Hornets fan, there is hope. There is hope from Pelicans fans that, hey, we can get some people healing back. We can get some people moving back. And some part of that is we just need healthy bodies on the floor. They need a Daquan Jeffries and an Isaiah Wong too. And I don't think that they're willing to wait until next year to get them. And I think that honestly, if we could look at like an Isaiah Wong and Cody Martin for Herb Jones, I'd say, okay, I'll take that. This sounds good. But also, I think that the Pelicans are going to want they'd probably accept that offer. Um, what they want and what the Pelicans want, I imagine the Pelicans are getting quite a few calls like that right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there'd have to be something enticing there. So yeah, I don't know if we're desperate enough for Herb Jones to overpay, and I bet that's what the Pelicans are looking for.
Would you throw like a Nick Smith Jr. in a trade like that, like a Cody Nick Smith Jr. or Josh Green Nick Smith Jr.? I'm saying Cody because he's in the trade talks and he's got $11 million contract and Herb Jones is at 12.
Yeah,
Like
I
12 and some
think.
change.
Yeah, I
Like
listen, and I love Nick Smith Jr. Listen, for the people who are listening to the audio, holding up a Nick Smith Jr. poster. Love Nick Smith. I have his autograph over there. Trade him. I don't care. Nick Smith Jr. doesn't do anything. Nick Smith Jr. is not an offensive person who I trust the ball in his hands. I like Nick Smith Jr. personality wise. I like his aura. I like his association with Brandon Miller. I don't really think that Nick Smith Jr. Nick Smith Jr. for me is almost Alonzo Ball character. I just don't need him on our team to win. I'm happy he's here. Don't need him on our team to win. And from a winning mentality, if I'm a GM, if I am a coach, if I am a person who is concerned about that third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth inning of this baseball game, get rid of Nick Smith Jr. I don't see why he's here. He should not take up a roster spot.
yeah, no, that's like Herb Jones, I have to see what the offers would be like for him. He's kind of in that Cam Johnson range of he's a guy I would definitely trade for, but I think that everyone's going to want Cam Johnson, and the offers are going to be more than willing to trade for. Like him and Herb Jones are very similar molds of 3 4s, who you know can be versatile on the team and are young and can be a contributing factor to a winning team. I Yeah, I would like Herb Jones on this roster.
Yep.
I've liked Herb Jones since even before he had his little breakout. And it'd be funny if we traded Nick Smith Jr. to the Pelicans, get that Devontae Graham before the little Hornets guard pipeline to the Pelicans. It'd be kind of funny. Um, One more thing I'll talk about, just to highlight a little bit. I saw a Fat Muse posted this. The the plus minus leader for every team in the Eastern Conference. The leader for the Hornets is Musa Diabate, which I said before we love Musa Diabate. We love him. I didn't have the stats on here. I didn't actually look it up. But the fact that he's a leader and he's played real
Yeah,
minutes is huge. I mean, his defensive impact is
yeah,
incredible. Almost to the point where we talked about how good Nick Richards has been, but Nick Richards has been playing so well. And he's been all these trade rumors. Would you consider with Musa Diabate playing so well, if Mark Williams comes back and proves he's healthy before the deadline and will be consistently healthy? Would you be like comfortable trading Nick Richards for a young asset, like a young player who can contribute to the team, or a first round pick, knowing that we had Musa Diabate waiting in the wings?
no. I think Musa Diabate gets the trade. As much as I love Musa Diabate, Nick Richards has shown up and shown out, and shown up and shown out to be a true center when Mark Williams is not playing, but when Mark Williams is doing cardio. He says, I can be a true center, and I can do 30 minutes worth of offensive work in the 25 minutes that you're playing me. And I think that he's hungry. I think that maybe he's hungry because he wants to get the heck out of Charlotte. But I think that right now, Nick Richards is a 7 footer, and I don't understand where that comes from. For the fact that that guy's huge. And if you see him play, he's
Huge.
a massive human being. And I think that when you're looking at a team like the Cavs, they were beating us up because we had two real competent 7 footers. And I think that if we could have something similar to that, even if they're not playing at the same time, the value of just not ever really dealing with center problems because both of them are competent and solid. I don't want Musa Diabate, who's 6'10", the wonderful rebound guy. Nick Richards, I've seen shoot the three ball. I've seen him attempt it. You know what I mean? And I've seen him attempt those mid-range shots. Musa Diabate has a lot of confidence when it comes to swim moves to grab a rebound, but I've seen him just pass on open shots. I've seen him look at the rim, consider, and go, not my thing, and pass. I think Nick Richards is someone who can be offensive and a genuine double-double machine.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. It would be nice if Musa Diabate could develop
Yeah.
any kind of shooting because he could be a good four man. If you could be a stretch four, definitely would consider that. I would I hate saying I would trade Musa Diabate because I love that guy. I just we saw reports today that the Pacers are looking to maybe trade Joyce Walker, who is a guy in a similar build to Diabate, not as high of an energy guy, but still a high energy guy, high flyer who also can hit the three ball. Man, he would be so good for this team. He would be so good as um, in a similar vein to like a Cam Johnson, not nearly as good as Cam Johnson, but just like a guy who play the four, big body, especially when we need size. I would trade Musa Diabate for him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's what I'm saying is Musa Diabate, if you're going to be the leader in plus minus, you or have trade value. You totally have trade value, especially for that hunger, that young energy is really valuable in terms of building spirit on a team. You know how every team needs a Grant Williams. Every team needs someone who has that spirit. And a lot of the teams like the Hornets are looking to build an entire roster of spirit mentality players. I think he's going to fit. He doesn't love the Charlotte Hornets. You know what I mean? It's Musa Diabate. I'm not saying he hates it here. I'm not saying he's not having fun here. I'm not saying he's not trying hard or contributing here. But I don't think he has any allegiance to the Hive mentality over, whatever Pat Riley would ask him to do. And I think that he would be happy to go down to wherever and contribute hard there. When I think someone like a Grant Williams, someone like Miles Bridges, and even someone like a Nick Richards and Mark Williams have a little bit more attachment and love for Charlotte. And have a little bit
Hmm.
more identity when it comes to playing in purple and teal, and that matters to me for sure. We don't want to just keep changing up our roster every 3 months.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I don't know if we could trade Musa Diabate with the 2-way contract. I don't know if we open up a roster spot and sign him if we can trade him. I'm not too
Yeah.
sure how that works, to be honest with you. I like to pride myself on knowing a lot about basketball and a lot about a lot of things. I don't know how signing 2-way guys and opening roster spots and trading guys. I don't go that deep.
Something for next episode.
I'm not an expert in that regard. Something for next
Yeah.
episode for sure. Um, So yeah, we were talking about the Bulls game was our next game. I'm trying to. I want to do an episode a week of this show. Now I've said it before on the show. I'm in nursing school, so I try to. I'll have a break from school after this week, and I want to get 1 or 2 episodes out a week. So we play at the Bulls and we host the Sixers on Monday, next Monday. So we have 2 games
Yep.
over the next week, which is good for our
Yep.
injury situation. We're only missing. There's a real world where I think Miles and Melo only
Yeah,
miss two
I
more
agree.
games.
I actually think I really
Um,
do. I think there's a real world where we could even see him back quicker. And I'm gonna shut
yeah,
up with that with Lamelo. There's no way we get Lamelo back. I think Miles Bridges could be upgraded to questionable or game time decision and then sit against the Bulls and then possibly play against the
hmm
76ers. Just because I think Miles Bridges, I understand we just got him on a contract, but I just think Miles Bridges is a player that we're down to let play. We need to get that cardio in there, and I think he's ready for it. I really do.
yeah. Also, Tijon was at the Cavs game we were at, and he was walking, no boot, no nothing.
Totally fun.
So I mean, if you have an ankle sprain, like, obviously he's not exerting anything yet, but just be like at
Yep.
least he can walk around on it. So that's I don't know how soon that's going to be, but didn't see a walking boot, didn't see anything like that. He did stare at us when we did the
Yes.
Simba Cam, which was really strange. I think it was jarring for his French mind doing the Simba Cam. Um, But no, I think that he's a guy in the next week or so I could imagine being
Yeah,
at least
agreed.
questionable. And then at that point you're only missing Trey Mann and Grant Williams, and Grant Williams obviously isn't coming back, but
Good luck,
uh,
Trey.
I think there. Yeah, I miss that guy. He was so much fun to watch. The the first article I wrote on my website um was about his the before, he just had a couple good preseason games. Like it was after a second preseason game where he just looked crazy, and I said could try sixth
Yep.
man of the year with man
Yeah.
being two ends, and his the outside shot at it, and then after that he went crazy in the regular season, and the media started being like, well,
Yep.
maybe.
And I
um
think I remember before his injury, he was number 6 on that list.
yeah. But yeah, no, I just if we could just have at least have Brandon and Mello and Mark and Nick and Miles all healthy at the same time.
It would be stupid, and
You
I
know,
think that's why I'm saying we would be undervaluing any trade that we had unless we got a 10-15 game sample size of those players. I don't see us doing any trades. I think who we got in purple and teal right now is who we got in purple and teal.
yeah, I think that we might trade like a Jeffries or something to take on a contract for
Yep.
facilitating other trades like we have been doing. I don't know how much cap room we have. We also, with that exception that we have, I think we could also take in a contract like that expiring deal that we could also buy out. So it just depends. But the Hornets season I was really hopeful coming into, and then Mark Williams. Before the Mark Williams injury was announced, I was so excited for the season, and now we've had our ups and our downs. And we've looked good, we've looked bad. I don't know if we have we've looked bad at times. Don't get me wrong, but we haven't looked as bad as we've looked
Yeah.
in the past. And I think a lot of that is Charles
Yeah.
Lee's credit because we could have looked bad. I think the last thing I want to talk about is Charles Lee and his coaching and him getting in Brandon Miller's face and kind of yelling at him after the how it went from what I saw in the game was he gave the ball up to Isaiah Wong. Isaiah Wong lost the ball and he kind of didn't hustle to get the ball. Then he hustled down. He didn't hustle down, and then we gave him an open three at the other end, and then Lee called timeout. And if you noticed, Josh Green was at the scorer's table to check
Yeah.
in before the timeout, and he got in Brendan's face and kind of yelled at him a little bit, which is I think is good. Like he benched Lamelo before, and that got
Some flag.
some pushback. Yeah, but I mean, Melo also had a terrible game that game. He was making dumb mistakes he'd been making. He had a lot of turnovers. Uh, and admittedly, Lamelo does catch fire in the fourth quarter, but the first 3 quarters, he had scored like
Yeah,
15 or 16, I
yeah.
think, that game. But he was taking dumb shots, making dumb passes, turning the ball over, almost turning the ball over other times, and Charles Lee just took him out. Plus, Trayman was also playing out of his mind, so it was a lot of stuff. Charles Lee did not bench Brendan, but he got into him and he leaned into him. But Josh Green didn't come in after that, and Brendan Miller ended
Yeah.
up staying in the game, and nobody came out. So I think that he was going to sub Brendan Miller out before the timeout, and they were able to resolve it on the sidelines. So that shows some growth from Charles Lee, I think,
I
too.
think
Gotta remember, it's a first year head coach.
I do think it's in terms of like what other options did we have, and I think what it came down to is this game is still winnable. This game is so winnable, and I see Brandon Miller playing winnable basketball. And I could look at it as growth, or I could look at it as a coach who is saying this game is winnable. And last time I
Mm-hmm.
threw away a winnable game, and I had reasonable backup for that winnable game. I had genuine people who I could say, okay, you know what, Lamelo, you're not the star of this game. It's still winnable with Brandon Miller. It's still winnable with Trey Man. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So Trey Man's got the hot hand now. Sorry, Lamelo. Who on earth are you going to go to? Josh Green has the hot hand. Josh Green, who I have watched go like 0 for 11 in one night. You know what I mean? It just goes. I respect to Josh Green. His poise is not on that side of the floor. He's here for defense. He's here for
Yeah,
corner threes every now and then. But honestly, I would trust Seth Green with the basketball over Josh. I mean Seth Curry. Not Seth Green.
I know what you meant.
So I think that mature
Family
coach.
Guy.
Serious. Mature coaching decision, or only coaching decision. I think there was mature and immature, and I think there's rational and irrational, and we just saw the difference between of the two. He can be immature and rational, and we might have just seen the immature but rational Charles Lee. I'm gonna yell in your face, but we can win this ball game, and you're the only guy.
I don't see what he would say is immature. I think him getting it's as a fan of the team, I'm happy that everyone is held to the same
Yeah,
standard. There's no like you don't see JJ Redick yell
yeah,
at LeBron James when he looks like crap, or Anthony Davis, and Charles Lee, I don't well like he's from the Budenholzer camp and the Missoula camp, and you know Jeff Teague had commented that on his podcast that Coach Bud would have benched some guys at times, like what Lee did. He said that that's Bud when he was benched. He was kind of the only person in the media who was like not defending Charles Lee benching him, but like saying there's some
yeah,
sense to this, um, and from a system that Charles Lee came up in. But it's just everyone's growing. He's a
yeah,
first time head coach, and it's nice. You go to the games. And he see his energy, and you see the mentality. I mean, he's running Daquan Jeffries
yeah,
at the center
yeah.
right now, and we're still in ball games. Like we joked early in that Cavs game, like what's the worst loss in
Yeah,
Hornets history? We might see one
yeah.
worse than that, and it was a 4 point game with like
Yes, sir.
2.5 minutes
It was.
left. So it's just I like Charles Lee and his energy and his ability to contribute to winning basketball, and he's got his kids and his wife at every home game, and the crowd. He's taken on to the city well, I like to think, and I'm happy. I'm happy, which this season might not be a season where we make the play in or we do anything, but I can see the foundations of a team that can become a winning organization from top to bottom, like we've talked about. Gabe Plotkin, Rick Schnall, Schlockkin from the Lockdown Hornets guys, as you want to call it. Um, you have Jeff Peterson, this guy who's really young but coming up and has a lot of respect across the league. You got Charles Lee, first time head coach. You got a good coaching staff around him, new medical staff. Plans to add a new facilities
Heck yeah.
around like something like we have to start something good here, and I think it's a bummer that so many fans around the team can only look at the negatives, and I like that there are fans like us who
Yep.
really see the
Yeah.
positives in this. And
Agreed. They're LaMelo Ball fans.
yeah, or they're Lamelo Ball haters. It's one or the other. Like they either love Lamelo or they hate Lamelo. They're like there's the trade rumor, like not rumor, but like the trade mock trade is like Lamelo for Keldon Johnson and Trey Jones and like a first and 2 seconds. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And they're like, yes, let's make this trade. Build around Brandon. I'm like, you can build around
Yeah,
both.
you can.
But we are building around both, and I'm so excited. Like, I think it is December 10th at 6:43 p.m. And I think that the Hornets are going to make the play-in. And if we make the play-in, I think we will be hot enough that we have a shot at making the A seed.
Hey, shout out. Let's do it. I'm here for it. I have hope.
Let's do it.
I have hope. Thank you, man.
I think we're gonna
Yeah.
call it here. Lee, I think Lee's gonna be on the show a fair bit. I don't know how often, but I'd
As
like to
often as
have
I
you
can.
on as often as you can, as often as I can make it. I'll be texting him, and I really enjoyed the conversation. We love talking about the Hornets. We just met this season, and we've had multiple 30-minute long phone calls about the team, and now we're just having just hit an hour and a minute just phone call about the Hornets, but for recording it and posting it. So check Lee out on his TikTok page, Lee the Hornet. If I'm posting this on YouTube, I'll find the link and I'll post it in there. If you listen on Spotify, then I don't know how to put links on Spotify. I'm still new at this. If you're listening, give it a like, give it a comment, rate, whatever you can do, do it. And thank you so much for listening. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And yeah,
Let's
go
go.
Hornets.
Thanks, guys.